Hey everyone, it's Kyle here with KGTV, and in this video I'm going to go through my experience with the Steam Deck after 1 week and try to help you decide whether or not it's for you. Now let me start off by saying that what Valve has been able to accomplish with a device of this size is pretty remarkable. I know that there are a ton of people out there praising this thing, as they should be, but after my first week of using the device, I noticed some issues that made me decide that it might not totally be for me. One of the first things you notice when you hold the Steam Deck is how big it is, but also how balanced it is. It doesn't feel too heavy, and the shape of the grips make you feel confident in holding it, and that you don't have to worry about dropping it. But not after long, I noticed a couple of things that I wasn't too fond of. One of those things being that the thumbsticks are not staggered and they are parallel. I also didn't like the close proximity of the D-pad and the A, B, X, Y buttons in relation to the thumbsticks. I often found myself pushing the wrong buttons, but I'm sure over time this is something I'll get used to. But it's just something that I noticed not too long after my first use of the Steam Deck. The second thing that I noticed was that the 4 back buttons are a little cumbersome to use. It seems as though if you don't push them in the correct spot, they don't really push in that well. Much like the face buttons, I'm hopeful this is something that I will get used to over time. Probably one of the most glaring things that I noticed about the ergonomics was how the shoulder or L1 and R1 bumper buttons feel. They are much thinner than the trigger buttons, which makes it difficult to know that you're correctly pressing them. Not only that, but there is a curved lip under the trigger button. This lip, I think, helps play a role in making the system feel more comfortable. However, it creates this odd and rather difficult stretch that you have to make if you hold your controller specific ways for certain games. I've been playing Rocket League for about the past 7 years now, and the way I have to hold the controller in order to mimic the way I do my PS5 controller is just very uncomfortable and unnatural feeling. The layout feels off, and the lip that I mentioned causes this stretch to feel very odd. Because of this, I don't see myself ever really attempting to play Rocket League on the Steam Deck. Handheld at least. This leads me to the screen on the Steam Deck. The screen on the Steam Deck isn't terrible by any means, but it is pretty far from amazing. After switching from the Switch OLED or playing the Backbone controller on my iPhone 14 Pro Max, it's hard not to notice the washed out muted colors of the screen on the Steam Deck. It reminds me of when I had the original Switch and made the switch to the Switch OLED, and just how much more I enjoyed the colors and overall quality of the screen. I have also noticed that in the dark, there is some light bleed in the corners of the screen. The screen is not a deal breaker in my opinion, but if you come from playing something like the Switch OLED or playing games on your smartphone, it may leave something to be desired. I think this area might be where I found that I have the biggest issue with the Steam Deck, and where I believe many people will love or hate it. And that is with the overall interface of the system, along with playing games. Probably 2 days of owning the Steam Deck, I almost didn't play any games. Which, if you know what you're getting into with this device, you may enjoy all the different things you can tweak and change. But ultimately, at the end of the day, I want to be able to easily play games on the Steam Deck, and I found that to be more difficult than not. Almost every game requires some sort of tweaking or optimizing in order to get it to play the way that you want. Which to some, they may love that, but to others, this will be a deal breaker. There are a decent amount of games that I wanted to try to play, but after realizing that they weren't available on Steam, I quickly found that I was going to have to complete a rather time-consuming workaround in order to be able to play these games. For instance, I wanted to try and play the Modern Warfare 2 open beta on the Steam Deck, but quickly realized that due to the anti-cheat client that they use, I would have to install Windows onto an SD card or the Steam Deck's hard drive itself to be able to play the game. This is something that I just didn't feel like doing at the time. It was a new console, and I realized that after the first 48 hours, I barely played any games. I also tried to play Battlefield 2042 on the Steam Deck, but again, due to the anti-cheat client that they use, I would need to install Windows in order to play. Overwatch 2, which would be a game that I think would be rather enjoyable on Steam Deck, is again another game that is not offered on Steam that you would have to find some workaround in order to play. Fortnite is also another game that you would have to find a workaround in order to play. Once you start realizing how many titles, some rather big AAA ones, are not playable on the Steam Deck without you spending some substantial time in getting them configured properly, it just kind of takes you out of the gaming experience. And this is why I think the Steam Deck falls into such a weird place in the market. It's hard to see exactly who the system is for. This is not the system for someone who is a casual gamer and wants to quickly sit down and play a game for an hour or so here and there. but I also think that it isn't for your extreme competitive gamer either. If you play Call of Duty, Fortnite, Valorant, CSGO, Apex Legends, or anything like that, you most likely won't want to play it on the Steam Deck, not handheld at least anyways, because you probably take playing those games seriously and want to be competitive, much like I do with Rocket League, which is why I'll never see myself playing Rocket League on the Steam Deck and enjoying it, in handheld mode at least. But if not in handheld mode, would I play it docked? Probably not. I have a gaming computer that I built that has better graphics, frame rate, and response time. Playing Rocket League on anything other than my dedicated PC just isn't worth it to me. And I'm assuming for anyone out there who is a competitive gamer, you will feel a similar way about playing your game of choice on the Steam Deck. Steam has a huge selection of games, but sometimes it's quantity over quality. As I was scrolling through my Steam library for games to download or play, I began realizing that many of these games were older games that I had either played before and didn't care to play, or that the experience would be better on my desktop computer. This led me back to the question of who is the Steam Deck exactly for? I think the Steam Deck is for anyone who isn't afraid to dig into the BIOS of their motherboard and tweak the fan settings. Someone who loves having cutting-edge technology and being an early adopter of things to see their future potential. Someone who wants a powerful gaming device for portability, but also to potentially use as their main gaming computer. Someone who loves all types of games and isn't so much into the competitive side of gaming. Rather, they would want to have the absolute best gaming experience they could have in a handheld device. My conclusion is that the Steam Deck is an amazingly powerful handheld device that will have some people saying, that's just too involved for me, and others eagerly waiting for theirs to arrive. And if you're either one of those people, that's okay. The Steam Deck just isn't made for everyone.